welcome to the Furnace. We are live at Hallworth Radio during Morgan's Martini Hour, and tonight we'll be featuring Buffy Aakaash's play, The Last Night at Manuela's. I'm your host, Corinne Manning. The Furnace is a quarterly series for prose and playwriting that features one writer who reads one piece to completion. Hosted in partnership with Hallworth Radio, the writer has the opportunity to perform their story in innovative ways, and the audience is given a chance to really listen and experience a whole piece. And for those who prefer to follow along, we have chapbooks of Buffy's play for sale for $2, sold by a very powerful being, Ray Diamond, up there. Thanks to those who've helped to make this happen, my co-coordinator Anka Silagi, Hallworth Radio, Morgan of Morgan's Martini Hour, Dan Coxon, Greg Bem, and Brian McQuiggan. We have many thanks to give to the various organizations and businesses that helped make tonight happen. We're grateful to the generous funding we received from the Seattle Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs, and are delighted to be part of Arts Crush Festival, a month-long event of multimedia and interdisciplinary performances this month. There are so many amazing events that would be impossible to list all of them, but there are program books up at the front, so feel free to take one of those before you leave tonight. And thank you especially to Rainbow Natural Remedies for the donation of cocoa and honey, which is there up there for free, and to Victrola for the many cups. And while I have you here, our next event is January 16th, featuring the artist Ray Diamond, who will read her essay, 3 Songs, about music and sound. And since we do not exist in a vacuum, the other upcoming literary events happening around the city this month: October 6th at 6 p.m., sunset reading on the Melrose Promenade with Brian McQuiggan, Elizabeth Cooperman, and Katie Ogle. October 17th, Red Line at Vermilion featuring Anastasia Tolbert, Melanie Noel, and Tashi Ko. October 19th, Hugo House's literary series kickoff event featuring Steve Almond, Matthew Zapruder, and Elena Ellis. And there's also a new literary journal in town called Pacifica, and they're seeking work for their debut issue. And you can find them online at pacificareview.com. But tonight, you'll hear Buffy Aakaash's play, The Last Night at Manuela's. The cast is as follows: Raymond, Eli Steffen; Jackie, Kayla Walker; Juan, Michael Feldman; Manuela, Kirsten McCoy. Originally a stage play produced as part of the Fusion Theater's festival, The Seven, Buffy has adapted that play to a radio format. Buffy Aakaash is a longtime resident of Seattle. He received his master's in playwriting from Columbia University and has lived in rural communities in both New Mexico and Tennessee. His poetry has been published in numerous journals, including Oberon, Georgetown Review, and Main Street Rag. And with that, I'd like to introduce the play, Last Night at Manuela's.
Juan, come out here for a minute.
Raymond, you're drunk.
No, honey, this is our last night here. It's just, I just want to raise my beer to Juan, to you, and to this lovely place that has served as our refuge during those awful daily downpours, and where we have had the great blessing of Manuela's feasts of maricos, derived from El Mar. My Spanish is getting better thanks to you. This evening, topped off with the most exquisite plátanos con leche.
Muchas gracias, amigos. Salud. Salud.
Salud.
Where is Manuela today, Juan?
Mexico City. A family emergency.
Nothing too serious, I hope.
My uncle was not a good man.
He's in trouble?
He was killed a few days ago.
Oh, for the love of God.
So sorry.
As I said, he was involved with dangerous things, but he didn't deserve to die.
I should say not. Under the table, Jax!
It's okay! Don't worry.
What the hell is going on, Juan?
It's Day of the Dead.
Day of the what?
It's the day we honor our ancestors who have died.
I think I've read about that. Are you okay, Raymond?
I think so. It just took me by surprise.
The celebrations will last all night.
Did you bring your medicine, honey?
I left it in the room. I've got a tricky valve in the old ticker, Juan.
How about some tequila?
Well, that sounds good to me.
It will relax you.
Just be careful, Ray. I'm not strong enough to carry you back to the room.
It will open your heart.
Look, he's already had open heart surgery. I don't think he needs it opened any further than that.
Don't bring that up on our last night, Jackie. Remember what the doctor said? No stress and no sarcastic remarks.
A little is medicine. Too much, poison. Salud! Care to join us, Jackie?
Come on, Jax. Live it up.
Oh, hell. Why not? To the dead. Holy smokes, what kind of tequila is this?
It's very good tequila. Mezcal, actually. A gift from my uncle. You want lime and salt?
Sure.
It's from your uncle who was killed?
Yes, my uncle Bruno. Last year was a good year for him. This year, not so good.
And we're drinking this gift from a dead man today.
This, of all days, is the day to drink it.
What about your mother?
She'll be home, but she doesn't drink. Shall we?
Maybe we should toast this time.
No! Ancestors say, no toasts.
Why aren't you with your mother today?
She had to take a bus all the way across country. If we closed, she would not have enough money to go. Uno más.
Ooh. How did you learn to speak English so well?
I was a chef in Los Angeles many years ago.
I thought Manuela was the chef.
She taught me, but I perfected it in the States. A very expensive place. Besides, Manuela's kitchen sounds better than Juan's kitchen. Am I right?
But now you're here.
For my mother, she is a healer. Not much money in that.
Your mother's a doctor?
Of sorts.
Sounds like the festivities are getting closer.
Maybe we should get your medicine.
It's best to remain here until most of the revelry is over.
Who are these people, Juan?
And why are they dressed like skeletons?
To honor those that have died. Bienvenidos, amigos!
More tequila? Sure, why not?
Raymond? You mean it, Lionel. Goodbye.
Where are they going?
The night is young, my friends. Listen. It could be my mother.
Your mother?
Juan! What's going on? What's going on, Juan?
I can't hear you.
What?
I can't hear what you're saying.
Wait! Juan! Where did he go?
Maybe into the back? Juan? Maybe you should go and see if he's okay. Honey. Honey.
It's okay. It's all gonna be okay.
Something is not okay. I don't like this at all.
Let's just relax, okay? Juan?
Who is that? Is that Manuela? Raymond? No!
What's happened?
I think his heart stopped. I don't think he's breathing. Please, no! Somebody do something! What is happening?
Are we home, honey?
Raymond? Thank God. I thought you were dead.
I must have gone out. How long?
It seemed like an eternity.
You see? It was just my mother, amigos. My cousins drove her all the way from Mexico City. They like loud music.
Welcome home, Manuela. I didn't recognize you.
She was dressed for a parade in Mexico City.
It's our last night.
Thank God.
Este hombre ha sido frecuentado por el muerto.
What did she say?
She says that your husband was visited by the dead.
Vinieron y lo pasaron por encima de y tomar considerado.
They came and passed over him and considered taking him back to the other side with them, but
No fue su tiempo de ir.
it was not his time.
El corazón de este hombre estuvo enfermo.
His heart was sick, she says.
Fue atado arriba en el frío del norte como una piedra.
Bound up in the coldness of the north like a stone.
Fue atado arriba en el... Oh, pero ahora es curado. Fluye otra vez libremente como debe.
Now it is healed, it flows again freely as it should.
Well, that's impossible. You almost died, Raymond.
It's true, Jax. I can feel it.
Es verdad.
She says it's true, and my mother is never wrong about these things.
Trágame algún chocolate. He estado manejando todo el día y debo cerrar este día con alguna celebración. Ha sido tan grave.
See, Mama. She wants hot chocolate. The day has been somber and she wants to close with something happy. Would you like some? It will help keep your heart open.
I'll believe anything at this point.
Salud!
Salud!
Thanks, guys. Morgan and Anka are going to join me up here. We're just going to have a little Q&A. And Buffy, I don't know if you want to come on up so that we can all hear your answers. So thank you guys so much. It was really neat, especially for me when I had originally read the stage play, and I think a lot what you guys have in the audience, for those of you who have the book, may have noticed the differences between what you're actually hearing and what you're seeing in the book. And so it was neat to see how those changes actually got applied to what happened here tonight. And as my question would be, what has this process been like for Buffy, but also each of you working from first a stage play and then kind of working with this idea of a radio format?
Well, so the difference between a stage play and a radio play is that there's a lot of visual elements that can happen on the stage that are, of course, not going to be seen on the radio. So there's a necessity of replacing those important elements that tie sort of the whole picture together with sound, and also there were some lines that were added so that they could be further fleshed out of things. And I'm not sure, we've only been working on this we had one rehearsal on Monday, and and then we came back today to rehearse again. So it hasn't been a huge process for us, but I'm not sure. Maybe some of you have.
I'd love to know like what it was like for you guys to like have rehearsed it and then now to be in this space and have had it actually happen. What's that like?
From my perspective, I feel like whenever I get something, for even if it's a radio play versus a stage play, the essential necessity to experience it as the character doesn't differ very much, and especially on a form that is radio, where there's only just the words that you have, it's just as important on stage as versus radio. So it's not so much different. I just have to remember that it's about the words. It's about connecting, and it's even harder to get that connection across when you don't have the visuals. But you have to just really believe that in your voice.
Yeah, I think for me, having not done a ton of radio or like audio work, it was interesting to try to like be in it, experiencing it, and then also be aware of the mic and the audience. That brought in another like focal point of like, you know, being aware of if the mic is going to be able to pick up my sound.
Yeah, I've never done both an audio, a radio play for a live audience. So having both was really interesting because part of me, I just wanted to play it in the mic and have it be a really sort of technical performance for people listening. But there was also like for those there, it became much more like a stage play, doing it this time for an audience than it had ever been in the few times we rehearsed it.
And I'm just learning to speak Spanish, so I just
I wonder what's the difference in length between this. So this was adapted for radio, and did you make it longer or shorter?
No, it's really the same length, only on stage because of the business that goes on, it's going to take a little longer. Probably, you know, it runs not much longer, a few more minutes on stage. Yeah.
And did you have the same sound cues?
Basically the same sound cues, yeah.
Buffy, I know you're also a poet. I was wondering, in terms of the writing of this play, whether there was any interaction between your sort of poet's mind and how you put together this beautifully written play.
Yeah, I actually brought a copy of the poem that this play is based on. I'd be happy to read it if you like. So it's called Manuela's Kitchen. She must make her living in joy or not at all. Hence my blood and its life in pursuit of happiness prevents our intermingling and stands between us, leaves me tinkering with this barely second language, injecting my trite ramblings with non-infectious cheer. So from the seas and markets of Manuela's country, I concoct a fish stew with flavors more provincial than the flattened nuance of my broken speech. A compliment to her stories of steaming moriscos and her final exclamation of plátanos con leche, making strangers into friends who never forget how fully pleased with her pleasing she was, our own pleasures heaped upon her in good nights and happy promises of the many returns before us. So, I mean, for me, theater has a poetic seed to each play that I write, and just because I feel like theater as being different from movies, there's a metaphorical element to it that's very similar to poetry, as opposed to, poetry compared to novel writing and plays compared to movies. Those sort of parallels.
Buffy, I was interested. I know that you do some studying with different healing practices, and I'm wondering, I know that there are a lot of people who work in various healing fields and who are also artists and kind of work with that cross between the two, and I'm wondering what that's like for you, and then B, what element of that kind of went into your play, your experience with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a lot of my life is involved with being doing some apprentice work with a shaman, and so I would say it really comes into play in all the plays that I'm working on, but in this one in particular, the aspect of the heart. My experience of being in Mexico is that I'm not one to romanticize other places and foreign places, but there are things that are desirable in their difference from our own culture, and one of those things is their connection with heart, and how we sort of miss that, and I really feel like it's a source of why we have a lot of heart disease in this country, is because we don't have that connection. And so this play was really about how Raymond in particular and Jackie kind of discover that part of being in Mexico, as aside from being tourists, but the heart aspect.
Does anyone in the audience have any questions?
Yes. This is an easy question. What's your experience with Day of the Dead in Mexico?
You're asking me?
Yeah, you.
My experience is, well, that's kind of what you miss in the radio play, is the dancers that come in, and there's just a lot of festivities that go. I haven't actually been there on Day of the Dead, but I've been there in the days leading up to it, and there's a lot, Mexico in general, there's just a lot of explosions all the time, because people are celebrating. It's another part of the heart aspect. People are celebrating. There's always some festival going on somewhere. People are shooting off guns after midnight, and it's just like you hear explosions in the distance, and at first it's a little unsettling. It's kind of like, what are all these explosions? It feels like we're under attack or something. But really it's about celebration. And so my experience, like I said, I haven't actually been there on Day of the Dead, but leading up to it. And I've seen pictures of the parades that happen in Mexico City on Day of the Dead. It's a huge time of honoring the ancestors, which is another thing we don't do so much here. And so, yeah.
I have a question also for Buffy. Is the setting of Manuela's kitchen an actual place in Mexico that you went to?
It is actually. The poem that I wrote was based on a place that my partner and I visited in Mexico, a restaurant that we've been to for a couple of nights with some friends, and sort of the experience of, and there was a restaurant, there's a lot of restaurants on the coast that are like basically pretty much a block or less from the beach, and they're just little like shacks, with barely anything in them, and it's really the livelihood of those people for the tourists during tourist season to come. So this was actually a place, and the woman who ran it, her name was Manuela, and she had a son who was a fisherman and brought in a fish that day that we went there. And it was really quite remarkable.
Anyone else? Great. Well, thank you guys all so much for coming. It's been so wonderful getting to see this happen, and thank you for sharing your voices and for sharing your work, Buffy.
And I want to thank the cast who came together so well in a short amount of time, and thank you, Corinne.
Thank you guys.
Yay!